A lot of Cowboys fans came away from last week's game very impressed. I was not one of those people. And the reason for that being is when you watch the first half, if the game itself was only 30 minutes long, then yes, I would say you should be impressed for what the Dallas Cowboys were able to do against their arch rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, who are also the defending Super Bowl champions. However, it is a 60-minute game, not a 30-minute game. And the second half, in my opinion, was typical Cowboys. And after a strong start in the first half, Javonte Williams, who is a new running back that we got this offseason, he had 11 carries and 2 touchdowns, which is very impressive. And I mean, this is something that needed to work if we wanted to have any chance of beating Philadelphia. And luckily for us, Philadelphia lost their best defensive player within the first 6 seconds of the game. And he just so happens to be a nose tackle. And so once he went out, the running game just became that much easier for us. But then the second half kicked in, and the running game wasn't as present as it was in the first half. And Miles Sanders, who was the other running back, ironically, a former Philadelphia Eagle, he broke out for a crazy run. We're back in the red zone. We're about to take another lead, it looks like. And then they give the ball back to Miles Sanders. He fumbles, and they hardly run the ball after that. Javonte Williams only had 4 carries in the second half. And in my opinion, this is what prevented the Cowboys from potentially pulling off one of the biggest upsets of the weekend. So, in my opinion, that's a difference making stat. And I don't know how other Cowboys fans are feeling right now, but a lot of them are impressed, but I am not one of them.
As I watched Thursday Night Football last week, I was kind of shocked that 6 seconds within the game, Jalen Carter just decided to just spit on Dak. But what's crazy is that obviously, if you've seen the angle, I think it's funny because Dak was baiting it. Dak, I don't know if he meant to bait him, but because Dak didn't spit at Jalen, he spat on the floor. And Jalen was like, "All right, bet I'm gonna just spit on you." And then what's funny is that the ref was right there. He just called the flag. That was it. And I mean, it can go either way, but really, I mean, I think it's funny that that's how it happened. What's funny and interesting about the Cowboys, I actually was really surprised because I know it's week one. We're not exactly off to the best start for either teams, anyways. But you guys, that would have been really a crazy upset win. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, the way that you guys were playing within the first half, I was like, okay, well maybe they can, you know, come out with the win. But you man, that gosh darn tush push, Johnny. I kept seeing that. I know that's annoying for you as a
Still hasn't
Cowboys
gone
fan.
away.
Yeah, it's. Do you believe it that the tush push should be banned?
It absolutely should be.
Oh, I don't think so. I
It
don't think
it
it should.
should
It's a
it
football
should be
play.
because they're the only team that can pull it off. And I mean, they haven't banned it up until this point, but I think what Roger Goodell's waiting for is he's waiting for it to reach a certain percentage where they get so good at it that it's almost unstoppable. And then at that point, like, we're talking about like boring football, because if they're able to do that, like, if they're guaranteed at the very least 2.5 yards doing the tush push, then it has to be banned. But we just haven't reached that point yet, and we've seen teams that have been able to stop the tush push before. So it hasn't been banned yet because of that. We've seen the Packers try to do it, and they didn't do well at it. We saw the Bills try to do it in the playoffs last year, and they failed, and that's with a 6'6" quarterback. So if it hasn't been banned up until this point, it's going to take a lot for it to get banned.
I think it's less the quarterback, of course, but I think it's not only just the lineman, but I think the smartest part of the play is whenever you have two running backs, either running back or fullback, pushing that quarterback to pass the line of scrimmage and to get that first down. I think it's a smart play. I think it's a football play. It's ironic because Browns is one of the really few teams, because there was a vote on it. I know that for a fact. I know the Browns voted for it not to get banned. A lot of teams voted for it to get banned. I was like, man, they're really salty. I think it's smart. However, of course, if it ends up going against my team, or yeah, it's going to be really annoying. So I can only imagine in your place, this is a really like just unlucky thing that we have to go through against the Eagles whenever they call that. So um, yeah, I feel you. But would you would you say? I mean, would you be more hyped up about week two? I mean, you guys are going against the Giants. Not too bad. It's a home away game. So I mean, I guess it's only week one, so that's the beauty of it. I guess with the Cowboys, there's it's still no one really had you guys picked to win this game. So on the bright side, at least
100%.
it's just week one. You're out the window, and you just move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little more confident for this game. I mean, obviously, like if you go back and watch one of our previous episodes, I'm not very high on us, but I'm also not very high on the Giants. I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup because the one thing about Philadelphia that I've been picking on them about is their pass rush. I feel like they do seem to be lacking, especially last week. Like without Jalen Carter, there was that lack of pressure that Philadelphia made Philadelphia scary last week. But one thing about New York, man, they got a scary defensive line. I don't know if you watched any of that Washington New York game, but Brian Burns is a lot to handle, and he's going to be very hard for us to contain this Sunday. And as far as our offensive line goes, I was very impressed with the interior. As far as the ends, Tyler Guyton and Terrence Steele, I mean, they're okay, I guess, but yeah, it's another divisional game for us, so I'm very interested to see how that goes. I see the thing about Dallas this past week, I still feel like I haven't learned anything new, if that makes sense. Like I haven't seen enough there to be overtly impressed. I need at least 60 minutes of good football or bad football for me to determine like what is this team going to look like in 2025, because honestly, like for all I know, the Eagles were just like sleepwalking through this past game. AJ Brown only caught one pass. We were very lucky that he didn't do much through the
Trayvon
air.
Diggs, Trayvon Diggs, it's that man. I mean,
And I guess
AJ Brown.
Trayvon Diggs did a good job.
I
But
mean, I was really surprised, but also, how do you feel about the first half, maybe the first 3 quarters of the game? CD Lamb was going crazy, and then it became the fourth quarter, and there were some really catchable passes. And I don't even think this game is. I think it's obvious, but I don't think this game is at all on Dak Prescott.
no, it's
Partially is
not.
definitely the play calling, and 100%. I think if CD catches one of those passes, I actually think you guys might have pulled
Oh
the
wow.
upset.
Wow.
I really do think so. Because I think I wasn't. Well, actually, I'll be honest with you. I'm not gonna say I switched up or anything like that, but I want to say within the first quarter of the game, it was really because of Jalen Carter. I felt the momentum change a little bit. I'm like, I think Dallas could potentially walk out here the dub and shock the nation. Because really, I mean, I would say this is true, but I mean, I don't know about you. I do think Dallas Cowboys is not only the most hated, most memed team in the nation, because
Definitely
everyone
most memed.
most meme for sure. But I think it's something bittersweet for me, at least whenever I see like a lot of people root against or for a team and it just doesn't go their way. But I think it'd be really funny. I really would have loved to see the outcome. But the bright side, I mean, depending how the season ends up, I don't know when you guys play Philly again, but at least it will be at home against them. So I
Right.
mean, if home field advantage means anything in AT&T Stadium, so it'll be in Jerry's world where the best players don't get paid but traded. Sorry,
Mm.
I had to pull that. I'm
Of
sorry about
course.
that.
Of course.
Don't
Yeah.
worry.
We got the tough one out the gate right away. So
Yeah.
there's that. But I mean, it's still 16 games left to go, and I'm still not 100% confident. I know what this team's going to look like. But, anyways, moving on to our fourth game, our fourth most important stat. So, this was probably the most one sided game of the entire weekend. It was the Miami versus Indianapolis game. And, you know, if you, this, we're introducing a new segment this week. It's Lock of the Week. And let me tell you, if we did this segment last week, I would have picked Miami over Indianapolis because Miami, if you've paid any attention to them the last few years, they're really good at starting off hot. They're the September champions. It's the Mike McDaniel way. Tua always looks good when the weather is fair. whenever they're playing at home early on in the year. And Miami's going to a dome, not exactly the worst environment to be in for the Miami Dolphins. Like, this is what we would expect the best we should expect the best version of the Miami Dolphins to be in week 1 against the Colts. However, this Dolphins offense had 3 drives in the first half. 43 yards in the first half. That's the fewest that the Dolphins have had since 1991. They were on the field for 12 and a half minutes in the first quarter.
Oh
12 and a
gosh.
half. No, excuse me. It was the Colts that were on the field for 12 and a half minutes. And so I mentioned 3 drives. They had 3 drives in the first half. The first one lasted 4 plays. Tua threw a pick. That's what ended the drive. The second one was 2 plays, and then the next one was 7 plays.
That's
I,
kind of a lot of credits to the Colts just to have ball control that entire first half. That's really
mm-hmm, of
impressive too. And trust me, I was watching the game I was watching my miserable Browns, but because I had a lot of TVs at the good old before Brady's. But
course.
shout out to them. But as I watched the Colts and Miami game, I was really like surprised. I'm like, what the heck? Daniel Jones is playing like Payne Manny in Indianapolis, and
Mm-hmm.
I did some research too. I don't know if you know this, but I mean, I don't know if it's much of a flex or maybe or an award really, but this is Daniel Jones' first time beating a team by 25 or more points since 2022. Now that doesn't say a lot because he was on the Giants, but
Right.
even then, it's crazy that week 1. But on one hand, are the Colts really that good? Or are the Dolphins really that bad, Johnny? And I got to tell you something. I'm not confident in this Dolphins team at all. I said it from the beginning. I think Mike McDaniel might lose his job by like before week 7. I'm not gonna lie if they continue this path.
If they continue to look like this, I guarantee you he will. But I'll say this about both teams. I think that Indianapolis is a little bit better than we gave them credit, and I think Miami is a little bit worse than we thought. And it's again, like I said, Tua and this Dolphins offense, they are used to starting off hot, and they just shot themselves in the foot. Tua had one too many turnovers. And, you look at that offense, you've got Tua, who played like a borderline MVP a couple of years ago. You have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon A-Chain. Like, they got some dudes on that offense. And Devon A-Chain in particular, like, we're talking about one of the better backs in all of football, like borderline top 10. Like, this team wants to run the football. And you watch those first 2 drives from the Miami Dolphins, like it was like a 8-yard run and then a 6 or 7-yard run from Devon A-Chain, but those drives were ruined by turnovers. And the worst part about that was Indianapolis capitalized and scored off of those turnovers. They were just doing so well at playing complementary football. So Miami never really had a chance to have control of this game. They lost control and they lost control fast, and Indianapolis did a fantastic job executing. So I don't know if this is any indication on how Miami's going to look the rest of the way, but I think it is alarming that they got off to such a bad start this early, especially when they have to go back home. They have to play against New England. Like, okay, Miami usually does well against New England at home. Well, Miami usually gets off to fast starts, and look how that turned out. Like, are we sure that it's a guarantee that they're going to do what they've always done to New England the last 10, 20 years or so against a Mike Vrabel led team who also is coming off a loss themselves at home? So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Which to the Patriots, kind of not shocking, but I was a little bit surprised that the Raiders. I give them more credit. They played that game against the Patriots really well, but I do have Patriots beating the Dolphins next week. Mike Vrabel, first time head coach, give him a little bit of grace. It's week 1, of course. You got to shake all the rust out. He doesn't even take the first couple weeks to do that. You got to get some midseason form really. But I do think New England is going to come down to Miami and I don't put not quite a beating. It might be a battle of whoever could try to score the most in a way. Like just if they have enough time. But if Miami continues this path of turnovers, oh gosh, like the thing with that organization, yes, they have their glory in the '70s, '80s, Super Bowls, perfect teams, all that good stuff. Dan Marino, but it's really like kind of sad how the Dolphins have just like they have one playoff appearance a couple years ago, lost against the Chiefs. And you would think after that they would come back and try to get more up to glory within an organization, but unfortunately that's not the case. I don't really think, I think Mike McDaniel has a good mind offensively, but I do think he should. I don't know. For some reason, I have a feeling that these players don't respect him because Mike McDaniel reminds me of like this substitute teacher who's kind of cool, but you're gonna take advantage of him in a way. Like you
Dang.
feel bad. No, but I'm sure
Dang.
he's a nice guy, but that's the part. He's too
Oh, for
nice of a
real.
guy. It's week one. As much as I gotta give grace to other teams, of course my team. It's week one. Gotta shake that rust out. Anything could happen.
Speaking of teams that we could probably show a little bit of grace to, this is actually the most recent matchup that we had, and it's the Minnesota Chicago game from Monday night. And if you caught the beginning of that game, the first drive went about as well as any Bears fan could have hoped that it went. The next 9 drives were not so much. It was 9 drives between that opening drive and the touchdown that tied the game with Minnesota, or didn't tie the game, but it brought it within one possession because, they let the lead slip from them. So, in those 9 drives, let's just dive deep into what happened and why they didn't score as much as they would have wanted to. So that first drive after the touchdown drive lasted 17 yards. The next one was 37 yards. They went they went for the fourth down conversion because Ben Johnson comes from the Dan Campbell culture where they always have to go for it on fourth down, and they failed to convert. Should have kicked it, and if they kicked it, guess what? That means overtime. The next drive was 2 yards, so went three and out. Next one was 35 yards. This time they did kick the field goal. And then the next drive, we're going into the second half now, 0 yards. Next drive, 23. Next drive, 45 yards, but it was brought back due to penalties. And so it ended up actually being 37 yards because they had a holding and an intentional grounding. And oh, yeah, by the way, they missed the field goal. It was they were well within field goal range. They were practically in the red zone, but unfortunately, penalties brought them back, and it had to be a farther field goal, and the dude shanks it, unfortunately. And then the next drive, -9 yards. Caleb got sacked, and they were forced to punt. And then the very next drive after that, 8 yards, punt. So I watched this game, and I know a lot of people are already ready to jump ship on Caleb Williams and overreact and say it's the same old Bears. I'm going to be honest, Irving. I think the better team lost. I really
Oh
do.
wow.
We're
I
talking.
disagree.
We're talking about 3 quarters. That this team shot themselves in the foot so hard because this team, I think the main reason, and this is the stat I want to get to. Obviously, the 9 drives, like that's all important too. But the main reason they lost this game is the penalties, specifically the pre-snap penalties. 4 false starts and 1 illegal shift. You're in Chicago. You're not in Minnesota. If you were in Minnesota, that would be understandable because Minnesota's not the easiest place to play, especially when it's a divisional matchup. They're in Chicago, week one. They're on offense. It's quiet out there. Like they should not be moving like when Caleb is trying to snap the ball. And I don't know if that's Caleb's fault because of the way he's calling the cadence or I mean, the guys that committed these penalties are veterans too because you think about it, it's all the veterans that they got in free agency. Like you got Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, and then Darnell Wright who's been with the team for like 3 to 4 years now. But and then you got DJ Moore with the illegal shift. I mean, the Bears were under a little bit of pressure coming into this game, and I actually did some research into this. The last head coach to win his coaching debut in prime time. You want to know who that was? It was Matt LaFleur, the Packers coach. And ironically, it was against Chicago. Now, I think another thing that led to Chicago's loss to Minnesota is DeAndre Swift. I didn't see a whole lot of DeAndre Swift action in that game, man. And
No, I
I
was
don't know.
disappointed in that too. I was like, he could have 100% ran the ball even more than he. Didn't they also give it to another back as well? I
If
believe
they did, not enough.
not enough.
Not
No,
enough.
they barely uh what do you call it? They barely had any run plays even in the second half as well. But Caleb, I'm not gonna like Caleb Williams looked a little bit different. I'll give them grace in that moment, but it's week one. Um, they lost in Bears fashion. That's there's no doubt about
It
it.
was
Of
Bears
course,
fashion.
it
I will
was.
say that.
Yeah,
But
penalties for sure can kill momentum anytime. But you got to give credit to JJ McCarthy, man. That man, he was down as a technically rookie quarterback. Not really rookie, of course. It's not his first year, but he came back
he's
from
young.
the season.
He's
He's
very
young.
young.
He's actually the same age as me, so which is crazy. I had
It's
to look that
crazy.
up. 22. However, I do think coming off of that pick six that they had, which kind of also gave a little Bears even more momentum, you would think, after that pick six. Like, I don't know, I guess not. But JJ McCarthy came back from that pick six and balled out. He absolutely played well and in a way filled territory, and I gotta give credit to that. Jefferson had Justin Jefferson had a touchdown. And I believe I want to say what's the quarterback, was it Mason, or what's his name, or running back, what's his name for the Vikings?
Jordan Mason.
Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. That looks like a pretty underrated running back duo. Not gonna
It is
lie,
underrated.
the way they used them both for the game. So honestly, I gotta give a little bit credit to the Vikings as well, and the wins. They just capitalized on everything they could. It's almost like the entire game they were running for the life. Almost not as like Sunday Night Football, but because Sunday Night Football was pretty much cinema. I love that game. That was a really good game. But for the
Mm-hmm.
Vikings, they were down in away territorial with turnovers, and they managed to come out with the win. I got to give credit to that. When it counts for sure too, especially a division rival. So yeah, there's that with the Vikings.
Yeah. I'll give them a little bit of credit, but I do feel like this game should have been long over before the fourth quarter. And I do feel like the lack of the running game that Ben Johnson called was a big reason why the Chicago Bears lost the way that they did. Because I honestly feel like if Ben Johnson were the offensive coordinator in this case, he might have called the game a little bit differently. But because it was his first year, his first game as a head coach, you have so much more responsibility now. Like before, like it was just, hey, just call this offense, call the plays, like this is your baby. Like you really don't have to do much outside of that. But now like this entire team is your baby. You have to take in a lot more into consideration than just you calling the offense. So I am curious because Ben Johnson does know DeAndre Swift. They were together 1 year in Detroit. Does he view him as a number one back? And that's why he didn't run him as much, and maybe he's concerned for his health because he has had injuries in the past, or is it he's trying to break in Caleb as much as possible and get him out of his comfort zone, even if it resulted in a loss? Like he's just trying to like I don't know, get him to become more poised before like he can like start getting more comfortable with the running game. But I mean, it's your first game. Like you would think that his goal is to make him as comfortable as possible. So for me, I was a little confused why they didn't run the ball as much as they actually did. So I'm hoping to see more out of that. But I do think Ben Johnson is a good coach. He's going to be a good head coach. And the Bears are going to be middle of the pack, but this was not the best loss in the world, and short week. You have to go back to Detroit, which they're coming off a bad loss themselves. And yeah, I don't think if I had to pick somebody right out the gate, I mean, if we're talking who's more likely to win that game, it's got to be Detroit. One of them has to go 0-2, and I just don't see it happening to Detroit, especially since it's in Detroit. And speaking of, that's a beautiful segue into the next game I wanted to get into, which was Detroit versus Green Bay. And I think ultimately with this game, a lot of people are overreacting, saying that them losing Ben Johnson is the reason they looked the way that they did, and it's time to hit the panic button. I even have a friend who's a Lions fan; like he thinks they're not even going to reach the playoffs this year, which I wouldn't go that far just yet. I think that for me, I'm less worried about Detroit and I'm more impressed by Green Bay. Like at the end of the day, I think that this was all about the Packers this past weekend. They were at home and you got to think the Packers were 1-5 last year in divisional games. And right out the gate, they get that divisional win over a team who had the number 1 offense in the NFL last year. Obviously Ben Johnson's not there anymore, but they still got Goff. They still got Amon Ra. They still got Sonic and Knuckles. And that's the stat I want to get into. Like that's ultimately the reason why I feel like this team didn't win. And it wasn't even close. Was Sonic and Knuckles. They were 6th in rushing yards per game last year. That's well above average. And this past Sunday, they were 44 yards combined, which not very ideal. And another thing to note, Lions were the only NFC North team that didn't reach 20 points. I can't imagine what practice is going to look like for the Detroit Lions this week, but I'd imagine that it's going to be a lot of late nights, a lot of extra studying in the film room, and they might not have been ready for what the Packers were gonna. They might not have been ready for the Packers game plan. They're ready for Ben Johnson. They are more than ready for his return. I can tell
The
you that right now.
the more I look at Green Bay Packers defense, or even just roster in general, shoot, this team. I mean, I know it's beginning of the season against the Lions, but it's against a division opponent. Of course, you had home field advantage, which is great. But I think it's really impressive. And it kind of like I know it's too early, but the Packers continue to play like this, man. Man, can you imagine what the postseason is gonna look like? Like Lambeau Field, they know like there are more because like the last couple of years, it didn't really feel Green Bay could possibly get the young quarterback still. Jordan Love, does he's got it? Does he not? I mean, but then again, that Cowboys playoff game. Sorry to bring up memories, but that even alone was still impressive for me. And so, I know what's funny is that I remember back in the days when Matt LaFleur used to have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. There was times where, like, according to a lot of news media, sports media, that Matt LaFleur, like, apparently he was like on the hot seat because he could never really get the job done-ish with Aaron. I'm glad to actually see that he's still with this team because he's definitely improved the culture more. I mean, at least you don't have A-Rod kind of swirling around, but he has his own little thing going on right now. I mean, somehow came out with that win against the Jets, but we'll talk more later about that. But the Packers, man, they look like a, dare I say, like top 2 NFC team right now. If that's
I'm with
not,
you. I'm with
that's
you.
that's a scary team, and I really do think they have what it takes to kind of just make it to that NFC Championship game, if not even go further. But of course, beginning of the season, I'll dial it back. However, I do think Jordan Love, he had 2 touchdowns, 180 yards passing. Of course, you have Josh Jacobs, 19 carries, 66 yards, which is kind of like a little bit, what do you call it, spread out offense a little bit here and there.
Balanced.
Well balanced. It's kind of what they usually have been going by. But I think Josh Jacobs is like a great um, running back that they have that they can be able to do that. Because the beauty about the run game is that if you can get the run game going, then hey, you can get that passing game going too as well. Because
Right.
both sides kind of have to like almost equal each other in a way where it can benefit both sides, and
Yeah.
it definitely expands your playbook more. And
Absolutely.
most OCs know that too as well. So that's one thing too. I mean, Matthew Golden, I know he's young, but I think it's going to be kind of obvious. Jaden Reed's pretty good too, but like I think by a couple of weeks, Matthew Golden's going to be wide receiver 1. Because I know he only had 2 receptions, 16 yards, but still first game they really played spread out offense here. A lot of
Yeah.
their receivers, they have like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers with 2 receptions, one with 3, Jaden Reed, and then like everyone else has 1. So I mean they just kind of like they're like almost, I don't want to say the Buffalo Bills of the NFC, but I only say that because Buffalo also plays that spread out offense. That's why I can never tell who was wide receiver one with the Bills at
Right.
all.
No,
Um,
for
but
sure.
but the Packers here, they're just spreading out, sharing the ball, kind of like team basketball in the NBA, but like team football. That's what they do.
Right.
So the Packers had a great, solid game. I'm trying to see who they play next, real quick, because I
They're playing
tonight,
tonight.
tonight,
They're
tonight.
playing tonight.
Which I mean, if we're
Should
gonna
be a
talk
good
pick,
one
we can
on
talk
paper.
picks later. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a Lambeau Field. Did I say it right?
Yep. Yep, you
And
did.
but even then, it's just gonna be a great overall entertaining game. Hopefully, because sometimes primetime games won't be as entertaining as you think. But I think Commanders and Packers will make it entertaining. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Packers, that cheese state, man. They're cooking something, man. I'll tell you.
And then the final one of this segment, we have this was, in my opinion, this was the game of the weekend. I really enjoyed. This might be surprising because it's not Baltimore Buffalo like everyone else is thinking, but dude, I absolutely loved what I saw from the Chargers on Friday night. That was that was impressive, I gotta say. And as far as the stat goes, this is the first time the Chargers obviously beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the Raiders beat the Patriots, and the Broncos won their game against the Titans. This is the first time, Irving, since division realignment in 2002 that the Chiefs started the season 0-1 and the other three AFC West teams all won their opener. It's absolutely insane.
But
And for
go ahead,
what
go
were you
ahead.
going to
Well,
say?
I was gonna say also, because I have another stat too as well. Well, Justin Herbert is 3-7 against the Chiefs officially now, because his last one was actually in September of 2021. I don't know if you knew
Right.
that.
Yep, I did.
Absolutely wild that they got that done.
Yes, it was a 7-game losing streak for Justin Herbert facing the Chiefs. They've had his number for quite a while. They these have been good games. Like the Chargers and Chiefs, they put up some good showdowns, but ultimately the Chargers finally got a W. And another stat. There's so many stats with this game. You just had to include multiple because it's just insane the amount of records and streaks that were broken just in this one game alone. So the Chiefs, obviously, one thing that they got away with a lot last year is they were in a lot of these one possession games. Like it was actually kind of ridiculous the run that they were going on. So going into this game, they had 17 one possession games that they had won. The Chargers had previously lost 11 decided by 3 points or fewer. And the game was really close at that point. And that, by the way, just to reference, the Chiefs' win streak of 17 one possession games, that was an NFL record. The Chargers' record is tied for third in NFL history. And, you know, this is a game. What really impressed me is this is a game that the Chiefs usually win, and this is a game that the Chargers usually lose. And if you watch that last drive on YouTube, it was 3rd and 14. Justin Herbert was in a tight spot, and I'm here to tell you right now, Justin Herbert doesn't convert that third down, Chiefs are winning that game. Absolutely. And I did not think that Justin Herbert had it in him. That was the last thing that I was expecting. And that was probably the last thing the Chiefs were expecting. Justin Herbert takes off, runs 14 yards, and slides like he's the MVP of the league, like just styling on the Chiefs. And that really impressed me. I think just going off of that alone, I mean, obviously it's a long season. I think Justin Herbert, he put up an MVP performance. We're talking about the Chiefs here. That's a big W. The Chargers, I'm very impressed by them because for once they finally maintained a lead. And the next few weeks, man, they're crucial because the Chargers have the opportunity to get a massive advantage over Kansas City because they have the Monday night game against the Raiders, and then they have the next game against the Broncos. That's 3 division matchups in your first 3 weeks, and if you go 3-0, this Chargers team, man, this
That's
this could be
impressive.
this could be a special season, man. So I was very impressed by that game. That was a solid A plus game, A plus performance from Justin Herbert. And it was a very unconventional game too, because they did not run the ball a whole lot. And I think part of the reason they didn't run the ball a whole lot, obviously, Najee Harris was limited due to the injury he suffered during the 4th of July. And Amarian Hampton, that's a rookie. You don't want to tread the tires too early for your rookie running back that you spent a first round pick on. So you left the ball in your veteran quarterback's hands, and he delivered. He delivered, and it's been a very long time since the Chargers have had a win like this. So, W Chargers.
Who would have thought Travis Kelsey would have injured his own teammate? I don't even know how long Xavier Worthy's out for, which is kind of sad. But the Chargers played lights out. They came in clutch, and you're absolutely right. Games like these in the last couple of years are games that Chargers would lose, and I find it more impressive that even Harbaugh, you know, gotta give respect when he's coaching, this team, of course, in the NFL. Even though he ran from the NCAA, however, I do think he's been a perfect fit. I've always wondered why, too, with how he did with the 49ers back in the day. He took them to NFC Championship games, took them to a Super Bowl. I never got the full story why he left to go down and play or coach college football, but he's one of those guys. It's really rare for a coach to kind of translate college NFL football. Their styles, a little bit different. You got the professionals, you got younger students, but um, I got to give credit where credit's due. It was, as I can see, the play calling was much better than usually it is. Of course, last year was his first year with the Chargers, but now knowing this offense, now he's gonna run the ball even more. I mean, I know Marion Hampton was a bit little. He had 15 carries, 48 yards. It's not terrible for a rookie. You're still learning,
Not
of
terrible.
course.
It's his first
Um,
one.
First one. I know a lot of fantasy owners were mad at him. I wasn't. I didn't draft him at all. I didn't draft. I don't like to draft. I like to draft rookies because if you draft rookies, it's kind of a little risk ratio unless you're for sure. But I mean, I drafted Matthew Golden, so I can't really give you that
Same.
much of a speech. But no, I mean, I think Amarian Hampton's going to be a really good running back. Of course, he's going to learn his ways as he gets more carries, gets more minutes. I'm not as sold, and maybe it might be an obvious statement that everyone's thinking because everyone's rooting on or rooting against the dynasty. Of course, that Kansas City is. They still have a Super Bowl appearance, so that they're still kind of in that mode. But I'm not convinced, Johnny, that I don't know how far this Chiefs team will really go far. I mean, I had the Broncos, winning the division, and I still kind of do it. It might change later on, but holy cow! Like, can you imagine if the Chargers or Broncos are better than the Chiefs? Maybe is that like? I mean, it's not crazy to say that there might be three AFC West teams to make the playoffs at all, but um, it's one of those things where we've seen like Patriots before have gone off to slow starts and still make it to Super Bowl, AFC Championship game, but I don't know if Andy Reid can still do it. There's a lot of things that you got to put into effect, and if Andy Reid can still do it at his age, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the cornerstone of this franchise. Travis Kelsey's probably going to retire in the next couple of years. He says he's young, but he's not getting as much targets, so that says otherwise. But even then, I'll probably we'll still put Patrick Mahomes as a pedestal. They're going to find weapons, but I really am curious of. We can talk more later about if this is going to be the end of something, or maybe it's one of those little gimmicks where they're going to have a really slow start and they're going to catch fire after the midseason. So we really do not know. I can't really project it, but what I will kind of project is that Chargers or Broncos, if they get their game up, especially Broncos, I'm a little bit disappointed in them, but if they get their game up, we got to see how far these teams can go. I mean, you really could see three AFC West teams make the playoffs. You never know, but of course it's
Hmm.
early. So yeah, that's what I believe in.
Absolutely. Happened last year. So, I mean, wouldn't put it past it if it could happen again. All right. So, moving on to our next segment. Before we continue, though, welcome to the pod. I'm Johnny. I'm the host. This is Irving. He's my partner in crime. And this is Views from the Booth. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date on more great episodes that are coming soon and shorts that'll be coming out as well. And just make sure you hit that notification bell, hit that like button, leave a comment. Who did you think? Is there a stat that we left out? Is We'll get to the next segment in a little bit. So the next segment is best loss, worst win. Who had the best loss and worst win? So I'm going to kick it over to Irving and I'll let him discuss his thoughts on who had the best loss of week one.
Best loss. I don't know if you picked them at all, but however, I do. I was quite impressed, even though how they lost the way they did. But I have to go with the New York Jets on this one. I'm not gonna lie, and the reason why is because they played toe to toe against a Steelers teams, and granted, both teams could be weak early in the season, but Justin Fields played his heart out after a really impressive game, and I was kind of looking like, well, this is the Ohio State Justin Fields that I know. He was absolutely electric. Him, Brees Hill, Garrett Wilson, they all play toe to toe. You're right about the whole connection, man. That Ohio State love, man. I'll tell you what, Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields were great this game, and they really could have won this game. It was going back and forth as I was watching
They
Browns and
should have.
Bengals.
They should have.
They should have won that game. Jets fans, I mean, I could be wrong how the season might turn out for them, but even then, I mean, that's against the Steelers team, a supposed top tier defense in the NFL. I have to go with the New York Jets with that. The Jets only scored over 30 points twice last year, and they've done it already in week one
Yep.
against the Steelers. So, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, it's early. The defense had 4 sacks. The Jets defense had 4 sacks and only allowed one. So it wasn't like a Bears Justin Fields where Justin Fields got sacked 10 times a game. But they really they held the line for them, and I'm impressed with Aaron Glenn have. I think, shoot, like I said, I've always been kind of pessimistic with the defensive coordinator minded coaches. Head coaching a team, I'll be more optimistic if it was an offensive mind. But I
Right.
mean, Aaron Glenn looks like he kind of has his team together in a way. I mean, I never really saw. Well, maybe I have too many clips of Robert Sala in his coaching style. But I mean, already week one, like I'm still I got to give them the credits when it's due. But Justin Fields had 218 passing yards, one passing touchdown, 2 running touchdowns. Brees had over 100 yards rushing, and Garrett Wilson almost had 100 yards receiving. So for that, I have to go with the best loss to the New York Jets. They're not down in the division at all. I believe the only team in their division that got the win, of course, was the Bills. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, of course, I have the Patriots coming in second, maybe, and potentially making the wild card. But um, I always had Dolphins dead last. But Jets, if they can manage to kind of have this season to improve, maybe get up to 6+ wins, 7 maybe.
Hmm.
I know that's a losing season, but even then, that's better than any kind of worst season. It's better to kind of get out of losing that losing bit, even if it kind of reaches purgatory. But nonetheless, I'm impressed with the New York Jets, Johnny.
I am as well. They are
Okay,
also the team that I picked for the best loss.
there you go.
And I they absolutely should have won this game. So the final score was 34-32 and the two biggest differences, the two difference making plays in this game, I should say, were the fumble on the kickoff, which led to another touchdown from Aaron, which, by the way, props to Aaron. That looked like prime Aaron Rodgers out there. Like, I don't know if he just needed to get out of the Jets uniform and get to Pittsburgh, where obviously it's a much more historical brand than the Jets. I don't know if it has anything to do with that. And his moxie just changed because he needed to change the scenery, but he looked a lot better. He looked so much better. But Justin Fields, he looked good himself in a Jets uniform, though. But the fumble happened, and then obviously Steelers have one of the best kickers in the game, and this dude drills 60-yard field goal to
Insane, man.
win them the game. And honestly, it was a 2-point game. Field goal was 3 points. Like at the end of the day, I feel like the Jets were the better team and they were at home. And I feel like the Steelers stole a W here, in my opinion. And I left this game feeling more impressed by the Jets. And this is somebody who's actually higher on the Jets than the majority of people. Justin Fields, that is my comeback player of the year. He certainly played like comeback player of the year, in my opinion. He looked like a guy who is going to get a second chance as a starting, well, maybe not a second chance, more like a third, fourth. Yeah, this is third because this is his third team, but a second, third chance and a chance to get a huge extension next offseason. Like Sam Darnold did, like Baker Mayfield did, like Geno Smith did, I think he's next in line. So I came out of this game very impressed by the New York Jets. And I mean, Steelers, they didn't look too bad themselves. I think at the end of the day, they needed to capitalize on the Jets' mistakes, and they did just that. And Mike Tomlin, once again, got another week one W. And Irving, who had the worst win of week one?
I don't know if we have the same one, but I'm glad we agreed on the best loss because credits to the Jets. But I think the team that a little bit disappointed me, but I will definitely give them the worst win. The team that lost to almost a rookie quarterback, the Denver Broncos.
Yep, me
They
too.
can't really okay.
Me too. Yep,
So we're thinking alike. Okay,
absolutely. We
so
are.
we the
Understood the
Broncos.
assignment.
Oh, absolutely. he the Broncos host week one of the NFL. I would think the fans have gone crazy. I didn't watch the game. I'm assuming they have in the beginning, but Bo Nix, 2 picks and a fumble. I don't know if that's gonna do it against the Titans. I mean, credits to the Titans because they could maybe their defense is better than I thought, but even then, this is a Broncos team whose defense and even offense I expect to make a big leap from last season. So all those drives from the beginning of from the first half a little bit into the end of the game, but it was field goal, interception, punt, fumble, punt, touchdowns in the half, and then when the second half began, it was interception, field goal, punt, touchdown, and then fourth downs, down on downs, I would say, they turnover on downs on fourth later on, but they still somehow to beat the Titans by I want to say 8 points right here. Yep, by 8 points. Titans they did not. The Tennessee Titans did not score a touchdown. I saw a clip of Cam Ward's dad kind of just struggling. I felt bad for him, it is kind of upsetting. But I mean, credit to Cam Ward for kind of just staying locked in. I mean, of course, he can't have all the weapons in the world. He's a rookie. He's got a lot to learn. But even then, he played his heart out for his first game in the NFL. No turnovers. Had a pretty decent stat. But the Broncos is a team who we both had as to not only win the division, but make it really far in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
AFC
so,
Championship.
oh
That's
yeah,
how far I had them.
and even though it's week one, I mean, hopefully Sean Payne and Bo Nix can get out of this week one funk. And move on to greener pastures. They do play the Colts this week, so it's going to be the Peyton Manning Bowl. Is what I like to call it. It's
Yep.
Bronco battle of the horses. So I mean, yeah. So I'm glad we have the same teams, but yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with the Broncos. But hey, week one. But even then, you're at home. You have this. You have the much better teams. Not like it was supposed to be close at all. I wanted this or not wanted, but I thought this team was going to win up by a lot more. So I was just kind of like, all right, well, I guess that's week one. That's over now. So
Hmm.
yeah. Back to you, Johnny.
As bad as Tua was this week, Bo Nix was just about as bad as just about as bad,
Yeah.
which is crazy because I think Bo Nix is a really good quarterback. I think that Sean Payton enhances his skills, but yeah, I was a little disappointed because this obviously Tua's game was on the road. Bo Nix's game was at home against a team that was drafting number one. Not ideal for you to be turning the ball over like that against a team that was at the bottom of the barrel last year. But I'm not too worried. I think that's the one thing the Broncos do have going for them. This isn't true for every team. Like I don't necessarily think it's true for the Dolphins, but I do think that the Broncos, you do kind of have to give them the benefit of the doubt because of Sean Payton's resume and the kind of coach that he is. Like, I mean, he's in my opinion still one of the five best coaches in the NFL. Like they're gonna find a way to get out of this funk. But yeah, right out the gate, um, it was just let's just say this. Bo Nix is very lucky that he has an all-world defense to help him out, to help bail him out of this game. Because at the end of the day, he had an all-world defense playing against a rookie quarterback. That's why they won this game. Most other times, they probably would have lost. Like if they're going up against the Bills, this would have been a huge loss for them. But I mean, they got to go up against a quarterback who's making his very first start in the pros. So yeah, I'm overall very disappointed with the way Denver played this week, but I think it's going to be a little bit different once they play Indianapolis. Looking forward to seeing how they bounce back from that. But yeah, I'm still confident that they can get far, that they can go on a deep playoff run. Irving, We're going into week 2 now.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what to expect from week 2 in regards to week 1. Week 1 was cinematic, I'll say that.
Oh yeah.
It's as good a week 1 as I've witnessed in quite some time, and I'm hoping that week 2 is, at the very least, half of what we got to see,
I agree.
um, a few days ago. So Irving, I mean, we know that in the NFL, there's this saying, any given Sunday, anybody can upset anybody at any given time. And,
Hmm.
somebody is guaranteed going to be upset this week because, I mean, there's the talent gap between these teams is very thin. So, Irving, who is your upset of week 2?
My upset of week two might not even be much of an upset in your perspective because both teams are 1-0 right now. But however,
Okay.
and this one team is also hosting a home game. However, it's because I do think the team is other as not just slightly better, but is better. I would have to go with the Las Vegas Raiders. I have a feeling that at home, week two. I know that sounds crazy, Johnny.
That's
I
really
know,
crazy.
but
That's
it's an
so
upset.
hot.
It's an upset for a reason. It's a hot take for a reason. I think the Raiders can manage. Who the Chargers are only favored by 3.5 points. I see that the Raiders could come out with a win. When it comes to either fan bases, Raiders of course have the most loudest and best, better fan base. It's a home game for Las Vegas. Yes, it's not in St. Louis or Los Angeles or Oakland anymore. However, those fans show up, and they're gonna
They
show up
do.
hard.
They do.
And I do think they're going to shake a little bit off the Chargers. And here's another reason why, too. Of course, it doesn't go on Justin Herbert as well. I looked up this stat as well. But did you know that Justin Herbert is 10-11 in our primetime game? And this game is on Monday Night Football next week. I'm not, I could, of course, he just won in a primetime game in Brazil. And I'm really much impressed by that, of course. But them being an away game, this is not where they're out of the country with no away or home crowds. This is somewhere where they're going to be with a loud crowd, and that's going to do some damage. But Geno Smith looks pretty darn good in week one against the Patriots. I can't lie. Not crazy great, but he still looks like the above average quarterback that most teams wish they had. But even then, him and Ashton Genty, shout out to my number one pick from my own league. He I hope they utilize him more because I think he's gonna go really even more grow much better this game in week two. But I think one of those wins where they kind of come off slid a little bit against the Patriots. I think they can manage to go 2-0. And trust me, Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. But it's prime time. It's an away game. It's at night. Raiders fans are going to be loud. I don't think it's that much crazy. I'm not saying like I think a crazy take will say like if Browns could beat the Ravens. That's a crazy take. I'm just saying I think Raiders at home right now could go 2-0 and beat the Chargers. Not by a lot,
Mm.
but by a little. A win's a win. One of those games, right? So I do think the Raiders can somehow make it. However, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. That's why it's called the upset take. So, what about
Yeah.
you, Johnny?
Yeah, just going off of that real quick. I don't hate the pick. I love how bold you were with that. And I think it is one of those you could definitely see a world where something like that does happen. The Chargers, they're coming off the most is that right? I'm trying to do the math in my head. I
No,
think
you're good.
it's yeah, it's them and the Cowboys. They have the most rest between games. And, the Cowboys are playing on Sunday, the Chargers are playing on but at least for the Cowboys, in the Cowboys case, it's a little bit easier for them because they're just going back home. The Chargers are going from Brazil and now they have to go to Vegas against a divisional opponent. I think the key to Vegas potentially upsetting the Chargers is Matt Crosby, that man has to have a monster game. And, if you watch the season predictions episode, Joe
Hmm.
Alt, that was my protector of the year. And Joe Alt played fantastic against the Chiefs last week. And I think that he'll be able to hold up. I think that he's one of the better left tackles in the game. I think that he could have another great game against Matt Crosby. Could be wrong because Matt Crosby's a dog, like one of the better pass rushers in the game himself. But I think the biggest key to the Chargers potentially falling to the Raiders is the Raiders have to play very well against the Chargers defense. They're tough, man. They are tough as nails. I think it was the Chiefs were in a third down situation, like 12. No, excuse me. So they were 5 out of 12 on third down conversions. They failed to convert those first 7 third downs. It's insane.
And here's why I think it's going to also be a great game. It's going to be also a battle of the coaches. Pete Carroll,
That's true. That's true.
Harbaugh, long-time beef in football in general.
They got history. They
Oh, they
got
got history
history.
for sure. And kind of history kind of sides favor more of Pete Carroll. I
That's true.
think I
It's a
honestly
good point.
do think I would not be surprised if Pete Carroll. It's funny how they play against each other in the same division. That's the beauty of it because they're going to play each
Right.
other again later on. So that being said, I
I
I
do like that.
I do think I think if Harbaugh doesn't get out coached, maybe the Chargers come out with a dub. But I think it's all about also the play calling and how they execute, which is why I think it'd be funny if the Raiders beat the Chargers too. If Pete Carroll is still in Harbaugh's head, we'll see. We'll see though. But that's my pick, the Raiders. What about you?
If I'm a Chiefs fan, that's exactly what I want to happen.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't. I love the points you made. Respectfully, got
Hmm.
to take the Chargers in that case. But
Understandable.
as far as the upset of the week, I have a couple, man, and
Oh okay.
I actually, well, I'm gonna settle on one. Just looking on both because I didn't know which direction you were gonna go, and that was definitely not in my notes. And I'm it's very hard to convince myself which one of these I think is more likely to happen. You know what? I'm going to go this direction. So, the Sunday night game this week is Atlanta versus Minnesota. Minnesota is of course favored in this matchup, and and it's so funny because my friends and I were like, "Why is this the Sunday night game?" And
I
I
had no
think
idea
I no, I think I know the reason why.
why.
This is a national championship rematch between JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. was the fourth quarterback taken in the 2024 NFL draft, and the quarterback taken after him was JJ McCarthy. So, Sunday Night Football, you have your storyline there. And so Minnesota is going into this game, the favorite. Obviously, they're at home. It's a tough crowd, man. It's going to be tough for the Falcons to pull off a W here, but in my opinion, I think that the better team lost last weekend in this. Well, no, I say last weekend. It was 3 days ago, but last NFL week. I think Minnesota only played one good quarter of football, and Atlanta, they just let one slip. Michael Penix Jr., that man played his heart out. And for those of you who guys don't know, that was probably my favorite draft prospect as far as a quarterback goes last year. JJ McCarthy was my least favorite. So
Yeah.
I really want Atlanta to win this game. I mean, obviously, I like Tampa. I don't necessarily want them to win, but as somebody who's a MPJ ambassador, I kind of want, and a JJ McCarthy hater, I kind of want to see the Falcons pull off this W. And this one's personal to me. I think Atlanta, they played a more complete game against Tampa than Minnesota did against Chicago. So
Hmm.
I'm going to go with Atlanta
I like
over
that pick.
Minnesota.
It's funny you say that because even when people were shocked, I wasn't even one of those people that reacted big. I thought it was smart whenever the Falcons did select Michael Penix Jr. in the top 10. Um, and whenever they selected him, I think he completely balled out against the Bucks. I can't lie. I'm really that game could have
He
gone
did.
either way, Bucks and Falcons. But that's a pretty good pick. I'll say that. I'm not a
Hmm.
JJ McCarthy lover either. I'm just saying because he did play for the team up north, so I try not to give too much glory for them. But other
Right.
than that, I think, and this is a little fun fact right here. I did my little. For me, I did predictions records from week one. I'm going to do it all season long. So my record from last week is actually 11-5. I have 11 picks right and 5 losses. However, in that game, I do have the Vikings winning. So
Okay.
we'll
Got it.
see. We'll see for sure. But I mean, yeah, it's upset for a reason. But I think home territory, I think Kevin O'Connell is going to outcoach. What's the Falcons head coach name? I just forgot his name now.
Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris.
Wait, Tampa fans, we remember Raheem Morris.
I'm sure you guys do it.
Oh,
I
man.
think JJ McCarthy. But who knows? I could be wrong. We'll see. It's going to be an exciting game. I was I'm glad you say that because I was also kind of confused to why when you have Eagles and Chiefs, why don't you have that as your at least a primetime game?
Yeah.
But
Uh,
it was
my guess is Fox outbid NBC in that game.
what do you mean by that? They
Yeah, because all these networks try to outbid each other as to who gets the rights to this game, and so
uh
the game is going to be on Fox. And you got to remember, the Super Bowl last year was on Fox, so
Fox.
you got to believe that this team was going to move heaven and earth to try and get this game on Fox.
Right.
So,
Now, is it NBC or CBS that does Super Bowl this year?
it's NBC.
NBC. I know they literally rotated
Yep.
around. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's the only three networks I know of. I've always noticed that.
Yep.
Which we don't even know who the halftime performer is,
Nope.
um, but we'll
Probably in
see
a few
later.
weeks from now.
Yeah, probably soon.
Yeah.
But yes, you
Irv,
want to go from
go ahead, Irving. What's the lock
lock
of
of
the
the
week?
week. Lock of the week. I don't think it's surprising. However, I do think the reason why I was also impressed. I wasn't crazy impressed with the game. However, their defense is like what you told me in the beginning, Johnny. Give me the Rams over the Titans by 20. And I do think the Los Angeles Rams beat the Titans. They're favored by 5.5. But if you're a sports bettor, put the over on that. They're beating the Titans more by
Mm-hmm.
5 points or more than 6
Mm.
points. I locked them. Look, love Kim Ward. He's young. He's gonna grow. This Titans defense will not have an answer for this offense from the Rams, and neither will their offense. Titans offense will have any answer for their defense. This Rams team is going to outplay the Rams, and I believe, even though it's an away game for the Rams, that they're going to still manage, to come off with a dub by by a big margin. I want to say,
Mm.
and I feel really bad for Titans fans because it's going to be their first home game seeing Cam Ward, but they held the Texans' offense to 9 points. Can you imagine what they're going to do with this Titans? And I could be wrong. Maybe the Titans. I think it would be really funny if Titans do beat them somehow. I think maybe
Right.
like, hey, I could be dead wrong about it, but if this Titans, I don't if their division rival can't score more than 10 points, I can't imagine what they're going to do.
Right.
So even then, that is my lock of the week. Give me Rams by 20 in this game
Yeah.
against the Titans.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. This is probably my lock of the week. I mentioned it earlier, but Detroit's playing Chicago this week at Detroit, and I think it's all it's as simple as who is more likely to go 0 and 2 because both teams are going into this game 0 and 1. Who's going to be 0 and 2? Who's going to be 1 and 1? I think it has to be Detroit because Detroit, like that was as bad a loss as they probably could have expected given the standard that they hold themselves to. And Chicago, they're coming off a short week. Caleb Williams played on Monday Night Football, and now you have to go on the road against Detroit. And you already know all these Detroit players, this team, this fan base, they're mad that Ben Johnson left them. Even though it was his time to leave as a head coach, I think that ultimately on Sunday, the culture of Detroit is going to give them the W. I think that Dan Campbell, I can imagine it's probably a tough week of practice this week after the the humility that the Packers gave them on Sunday. So give me Detroit over Chicago. Can't remember the spread off the top of my head, but give
No,
me
you're good.
Detroit.
I like that pick. I do think Detroit will beat the Bears. If I had another lock in the week, I just want to give a shout out to them because it's more as we kind of getting away from the subject of lock of the week, but really, I do think the Giants are gonna lose to the Cowboys,
Oh
and I don't.
wow,
And the reason
that's
why, no, I did my research.
you're picking that as the lock,
No, no,
another
no.
lock. Oh wow.
My lock of the week is the Rams. But if I had another one, I think a game that speaks actually a lot for both teams in a way. Dallas is favored by 5.5. However, Dak Prescott has never lost to the Giants since 2016, right?
I know that. I know that.
I, s- I don't think that record is gonna get broken just yet. I think Dak Prescott at home, Cowboys are gonna be the Giants. Brian Dable
I hope you're
could
right.
could get fired before he look. Here's the score or here's the schedule for the Giants after you guys because I do think they're gonna lose to the Cowboys. They have the Chiefs, Chargers, maybe a lucky game against the Saints. Then they have Eagles, Broncos, Niners the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
That being
that's
said,
rough.
can you
And Brock Purt
imagine?
and Brock Purdy will be healthy by then.
Yeah,
He should be.
but here's the thing though. You want to hear a hot take? I don't know if it's a hot take at all. They're gonna lose to Cowboys. They're gonna lose to Chiefs, Chargers. If they lose to the Saints and then the Eagles,
He might be gone.
he's gonna be gone by then
He might be
because
gone.
he
100%.
has lost the locker room. If Malik Neighbors not the best team, the best player of your team not respecting you, I don't know, what this kind of shows you in the locker room. But this Giants team, uh, and here's another thing too with Brian Dable. From him being a coach, his division record against the NFC East is 4-13-1. That's not a
Golly.
that's not an impressive record as a coach for the NFC
It's
East.
not.
And I'm surprised maybe I'm not surprised. Was the right timing for him to be in the hot seat. However, Russell Wilson didn't really convince me that much at all in his game. But then again, sorry, I'm just thinking Broncos country. Let's ride. When I think of Russell Wilson,
I forgot about that.
but even then, um, Dak Prescott has not lost a game to the Giants since I was in eighth grade. So with that being said,
That's
I
crazy to
think that's
think.
going to continue. Oh yeah, I think they're going to beat them. I think. Look, it could be a little bit, somewhat of a morale boost for you guys. Hey, beat the Giants at home. They're my pick to win. I mean, I have a lot of picks too. But I don't know if we have time to go over them. But even then, that's just one of my picks for sure. I do think Cowboys. You guys beat the Giants. Go 1-1 to start off the season.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Let's
And I have
go.
the Browns losing. Did you just hear what our D-back said about the Derrick Henry? Bro, our safety, Grant Delpit, said that he was asked if it's hard to tackle Derrick Henry. He's like, no, it's not hard at all. I'm like,
Oh,
bro,
man.
stop talking,
Bulletin board
bro.
material.
He's we're gonna get so screwed down. I don't want to watch the game. I might hate watch it on Sunday. Just be like, well, you said this, and then who was it? I think
You reap what you sow.
Jerry Judy was asked about the Ravens defense, and he said, "Oh, they're easy peasy," something like that. He said, "Like, oh, they're
Oh,
not,"
gosh.
and I'm like, gracious. We're playing in Baltimore, guys. We're not playing in Cleveland. There's no safe space. However, Lamar Jackson is only 5-3. I want to say against the Browns, or sorry, 8-5 against the Browns. And two of those losses were at home. So I mean, he's not like the Ben Roethlisberger against us. Yes, he has an edge over us and wins, but even then, we'll see how that kind of goes. It's our rookie kicker. If he misses another chip shot field goal, he will walk to Cleveland, and I don't want him back. Get another kicker. I don't care if you have to get Justin Tucker. If you have to get Justin Tucker,
Oh, and
so
wait 10 games.
I mean, it's a week 2 headline. You have Joe Flacco first time coming back to Baltimore ever, playing against the
You're
Ravens
not.
ever. Can you imagine if Joe Flacco comes into Baltimore and beats the Ravens? Ravens are favored by 11.5. And you know what? If I was a betting man, I'll put the Brown spread in there. I'm not gonna lie.
I hear you. I
However,
hear
if
you.
we get blown out, we get blown out. But
Hmm.
I don't look. I think our defense played really well against against the Bengals. Yes, it's week 1 Bengals. We should have won this game. I'm still mad about it. It's not. I'm telling you, Johnny, as a Browns fan, it's not the blowout losses that makes me mad. It's those kind of losses where we should have won the game.
Right.
Um, and somehow, I know we're not that good, but just shout out to the Dolphins for taking all of our primetime games because they have 5 or 6 primetime games. I don't know why they do, but they're going to be show. If the Browns have a better record than the Dolphins, I'm going to write an email to the NFL. Don't ever do that again. At least give us Thursday Night Football. That's fair. I think if you give us a division rival game early in the season, that's a fair, thing to do. But I've always thought each team should get a primetime game, but Brown's might break my heart even more. If we're gonna lose with dignity. But I don't know with all these players saying Ravens players are not that hard. I think it's still wild that he said that about Derrick Henry. But even then, if it gets too violent for me to watch that Browns game, I will turn it off. So yeah, that's my little week 2 headline kind of going on.
Nice. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
All right, man. This is a great episode.
absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys, once again, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button down below, drop a comment. Who do you think is the lock of the week? Who do you think is the likeliest to upset this week? It's going to be another exciting week. I'm believing for it, and week 2 is well underway right now. We're 3 minutes into Packers Commanders, and I'm gonna go check out that game now. And
Me too.
I and Irving will see y'all in the next one. Later,
Have a
y'all.
good one.